Greetings. Let's talk about Jeremiah. Let's talk about this man who gave his entire life over to God to be used as a tool for God and as a minister of his word to people that utterly rejected him, completely hated Jeremiah. All of his words, they said he was lying. He just kept telling them that the prophets that were speaking to the people were telling false lies, false hopes, trying to feed these stories of just peace and love and prosperity, and you'll be alright, they'll be alright. God's not okay with the amount of sin that Israel has fallen into. It's amazing, the picture of Jeremiah, the picture of the entire Bible is God's grace. He sees how messed up we've all gotten, and he loves us still. It's an amazing picture because, it criticizes, the people of God are messed up. It criticizes itself. The Bible criticizes those who follow it. In a sense, we're not guilt trips, but I'm saying that it's a message of we are all sinners. We all need him. Chapter 32 is where Jeremiah is told to buy a field and then put a deed for the land in that field, promising him that one day that people will come back and will be going to get this deed and this land will be in your name. It's pretty interesting. It reminds us that, Israel's going to be out of the land for only 70 years because the land needed a Sabbath. It needed a break as commanded by God. And then chapter 32 also reminding God of his deeds concerning the present pending war. And even Babylon, even all of the enemies of Israel, even all of that are in God's hands. There's nothing that's outside of his control, his hands, as much as life sucks. Sometimes things happen we just don't like and we don't understand because we live in a dying world. We live in a sinful world that's broken. Literally, the earth is splitting open in places simply because it's had enough. Chapter 33 talks about Jeremiah being in prison. God will use Israel for his purposes. It talks about the branch of David springing forth. David will never lack a man to sit on the throne of the house of Israel. He's coming back. Jesus is coming back. And by the way, he is God. Jesus did not give us any other option. He said he is God. You can't believe the Bible and not read that because it's in there. The book of John is very, 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 very clear. Anyhow, God promises, his ways, his promises will not fail. I love that. It says, if you can break my covenant with day and night, so that the day and night will not be at their appointed time, then I will break my covenant with Israel. If I can tell that sunshine to not come up tomorrow, if I can just make it daytime all the time, or if I can change the seasons so that it's winter in the summer and summer in the winter, then I'll reject Israel. He's not gonna mess with nature. That's not changing right now. Although, it does say that in the end times, the coming world leader will attempt to change the signs and the times. It's interesting. But anyway, the main thing is there that God has promised Israel a number of things, and he's not going to change his mind. Chapter 34 talks about how Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon came. Now they're under siege. A lot of gruesome things really start happening and just disturbing. Chapter 35, 36, Jeremiah is talking about writing on the scroll all of the things that God has told them. He gives them to the king, and the king throws it in the fire. And it's like, come on, really? Actually, it wasn't even the king. The king sent some other guy to see what was on the scroll, and the other guy cut it up and threw it in the fire. The king later, it's like, you're not really here, Jeremiah. Don't tell people where you are. Even the people that don't believe in him, they still kind of believe in him, like believe in Jeremiah's words being true. And it's like, this guy that tore up the scroll and threw it in the fire, it's like exactly what God's going to do with you guys. He's going to reserve a remnant. And he does say, go to Babylon and, live. Blood curse comes up again in the end of chapter 36. Chapter 37, some warnings about Egypt. Again, the prophet is in jail. Chapter 38 is interesting because Jeremiah is thrown into a pit. He's brought to the king out of the pit. It's a muddy pit. His feet go into the mud at the bottom of the pit. And he's brought to the king, and he gives the king a warning. Even even this, you're going to be stuck. Babylon's going to take you guys out. Just like I was stuck in the mud. And I was thinking the other day about that, Jeremiah is thrown into this pit in the mud, okay? Not exactly treated very well. Prophets weren't generally treated very well. Ministers of God generally aren't either. He was thrown into a pit, and he's just lying there in the mud, miserable. And, he knows that Israel is going to be conquered. Babylon's come, and they're going to take him and everything. And his words haven't been listened to. But he's lying there in the mud, he says, even now, Lord, you're using my present circumstances as a message for somebody else. That's what I want you to get, okay? So Jeremiah went through a lot, but he remembered that God was using him as a message, as a warning to the other people. While his feet were in the mud, while he was drenched in the mud, dirty, stinky, lousy feeling, Jeremiah was not happy about that. But he knew that God was using him as a message to the king. And that's powerful to me. Chapter 39, Jerusalem is captured. Talks about Zedekiah. His eyes have been put out and he's taken away to Babylon. Some people go, well, Zedekiah in other places told that he's not going to see Babylon. Well, he didn't see Babylon. His eyes were taken out. Then he was taken to Babylon, so he was blind when he was there. So it works. Chapter 40, 41, assassination attempt, like those. There's a lot of assassinations in the Bible. Chapter 42, don't fear Babylon, listen to God's word. Do not go to Egypt. And of course, they take Jeremiah to Egypt and then stone him there, apparently. That's, the tradition says that he was stoned to death eventually. Kings are not listening. Again, it's like, I got my margin, it's like every few paragraphs, it's like they did not listen to Jeremiah. Chapter 43, 44, rejecting God's word. Chapter 45 is a short chapter, only 5 verses. Chapter 46, to Egypt. Now, Egypt is used as God's tool. In the next several chapters, God is bringing out the message to individual nations. This is like, I'm going to use you as my tool. Babylon will take Egypt, though. Babylon's going to eventually get there to be like, supreme. Talking about God, message to the Philistines in chapter 47. Chapter 48 is a message to Moab. Very good. We don't have time to dwell on each of those. 49 is a message to Ammon. And it says, behold, those who are not sentenced to drink the cup will certainly drink it, and you are the ones. See, there's a cup of judgment. There's a lot of things you notice throughout the Bible that you see regularly. Like, branch of the Lord is referring to Jesus. There's cups, like the cup of wrath, the cup of, that's what Jesus drank. If I could not drink this, Lord, if there's any other way. But there was no other way. There was no other way. Chapter 50, Babylon will be captured, and it is, it's not destroyed, it's captured by the Persians. And talks about the sheep. My people have become lost sheep, their shepherds led astray. And it does promise them that eventually they will return from exile. Chapter 51, 50 and 51 are about the future destruction of Babylon that has not taken place yet. So that's fascinating. And all the earth will see it. Of course, on CNN or Fox News or whatever. Chapter 52, Babylon under siege. All the treasures of Israel taken to Babylon. I just end saying that, Jehoiachin was treated well in his prison clothes for the rest of his life, kind of just like as a respected prisoner in Babylon. And that's the end of Jeremiah. And the next we'll cover Lamentations real briefly because I want to get through that as fast as possible because we have Ezekiel next after Lamentations. So remember, your life is going to be used as God's tool, as a message to somebody else. The mystery is who and what of your life He's going to use and how He's wanting to use it. So draw closer to Him, because the closer you draw to Him, the more He'll tell you about it, and the more you'll understand as you draw into Him. Okay, my friend.